Can we have another round of applause for our guest speakers, please? Thank you very much. Awesome talks, guys. So I'm going to kick this off, and then eventually we'll put it out to you guys to ask your questions as well. But I think you've all got something in common, and the backgrounds that you've come from is really inspiring. So I'll start with you, Anou, then. So obviously that resilience, and I think we talked about that grit and just that belief to carry on doing things. Kind of, can you talk about that determination when you first arrived to get that first business off the ground for us?
I had no option. There was no option to fail. It was do or not do. And it was always going to be successful. I think in your mind, if you start off and you have no fear, like I think I said earlier, if you believe in yourself, courage comes. It just comes. If you do the right thing, money comes. And you know, it was like that for me in everything I have done. I have very much believed that impossible is just not a word. Even today, I'm very focused. It is going to be successful because when you're focused, you're thinking about everything that is around you. You're thinking about the whole life cycle, the whole paradigm. What are you doing? How are you going to make a difference? How is it going to be better? It's then kind of difficult to not do.
Yeah. And you guys? That resilience, is that coming from your background and your parents' background? Do you see that playing a role in your business today?
I definitely do. Like, my dad came from nothing, and I think a lot of people in my generation anyway, their parents came to a foreign country and built something from nothing. And so for me, who had such a privileged lifestyle, there was no excuse really. And for me to give up sort of uni that I valued my whole life on or based my worth on, to give that up, I had to prove that I could succeed even more so elsewhere. And so I think I was just young as well, and didn't think too much, so that also played a part in it. Because if you think about it, making money from folding origami is not the best business plan, I don't think. For me.
I think for me, seeing my parents, come from refugee background, and hearing stories of what they had to go through, I was like, geez, we're pretty lucky here. And me being the last child, I think a lot of pressure wasn't on me. So I was always a bit blasé about everything. And for me, it was more selfish, actually, to be honest. So it was more about, hey, I don't want to just live life and do the same thing over and over again. I want to live life on my terms. And that Rich Dad, Poor Dad book opened it up for me.
Yeah. So I'll keep it over that side for now. And obviously you're in a relationship and you've built the business whilst in the relationship. So what are some of the advantages and disadvantages
Don't
of
do
that?
it.
What advantages? No.
Yeah.
It's actually, we're quite blessed actually. Like, we're polar opposites. Like, I'm relaxed and cool. She's uptight and angry. No. But really our opposites really help each other. It's almost like when she's down, I'll be up, and then when I'm feeling down, she'll come in and she'll change the energy. It's like a really crazy balance. But yeah, really, I am very relaxed and sort of like to delegate, whereas she's very hands-on. So we've kind of come to a good balance now, I hope.
Choose your words carefully. We've been together for a long time, actually. So we dated in high school all throughout. It's disgusting. But if you can survive the business as we have, I think it's more than marriage almost. It's insane. It's all the staff are our children. That's how we see it, and it's been a blessing of a journey with you.
So you guys have a bit of a sounding board between yourselves,
Yeah.
ideas, and obviously the creative space, obviously that lends itself towards that. So who's your sounding board, and who do you bounce ideas off, Anou?
My husband.
Yeah.
Very much so, and my sister, who helps in the business. We are a very strong unit. I agree with both what William and Kaz said. It's not easy at all times. It's different. He's very analytical and is very good with numbers, and I'm super blessed with that. I've got more the creative side, and my sister's very much process driven. So it really does create that nice balance, and what I miss, he picks up, and what he misses, hopefully I pick up.
And then, so William, you were talking a little bit about being the relaxed one, and you obviously deal with your so-called failures in a quite relaxed way, and obviously you want people to learn from failures. So how do you pick up pieces? If Kaz is having the meltdown, how do you pick up these pieces?
I just tell her to relax. No, that doesn't work, by the way. How do I pick up the pieces? I think it's more just actually just listening and hearing her out. Whereas in the past, I'm always like, just calm down. It's okay. It's kind of just words. Whereas now it's just about actually listening to her as a person, as a woman, really, and just not trying to fix a problem, but just understand her.
Well done.
Thanks.
Well done.
I just learned that this year. But yeah, that's a really critical part. Instead of trying to, hey, why don't you try to do this and this? It's more just like, okay, I'll listen. And
yeah. So do you all have like a getaway from the business? Is there anything kind of rituals that you have or times that you think, okay, well, I'm detaching completely from this and moving away from the stresses? Is there anything that you have in your life that caters for those needs?
Sorry, Kaz and I actually do a date night every Thursday night, and we're not allowed to talk about business, not about cash, nothing. So it's silent. No, so that's actually a really good reset for us every Thursday, where we make sure we go to a different venue every time. So I'll do one week and she'll do the next week, and we take each other to different places. So that's cool.
Yeah. And then yourself?
So we play a lot of games. We play backgammon. It's very competitive. It's fun. It's a journey that we've had for years, and it's sometimes he wins, sometimes I win. I win most of the times. It's okay. But we like playing board games. We have 2 children together, and that's a welcome distraction. Raising them is a real pleasure and such a journey, and instilling in them the qualities that we have, and spending that time is fantastic. And we do go on holidays, so we travel to Asia because of the business operations, and we always try and add 5 days here, 3 days there. And believe it or not, the best time we have is when we are together alone. It's really interesting, no matter how intense it is. When it's the right partner, you can spend your time very comfortably and really switch off, because it is you understand each other, and it's fantastic. It works.
Awesome. So I'm going to put this out to the audience now. So does anybody have a question for our speakers this evening? Yes, lady in the grey, please.
This is for Anou, more around the business that failed, which was all to do with the baby garments. You'd already run and created so many successful businesses. What happened with that one? Why is it that one failed and the other ones didn't?
That one failed because I thought it was a great idea, and I had no real business plan behind it. Whereas the hospitality business, I knew the food. I knew, if you go back to the story of Club Med, I knew people. I knew how to relate to people. This was a product business. It was completely foreign to me. I really didn't think about the market. I didn't think about the competitors. I didn't think whether I was connecting enough, whether it was easy for the parent to do what I couldn't do because I was busy. So it was really that the fact that I didn't use that oversight. And at that time, I didn't know. Whereas now, I took a lot from that failure and went, I am not going to repeat the same mistakes that I did then. So yes, it was a failure because I really was so unaware at that time. And I was probably I was quite young as well, so. Yeah.
The lady in the blue also had a question. Yeah, that's you.
This is for Carolyn and Will. So your business model when you guys started it was very hands-on. So, and you had mentioned she has a sign on her door saying redundancy in progress. So how are you guys working on making yourself redundant, or is that something that you want to do?
It's definitely something I want to do. In fact, one of the annual goals for me this year was the same as you, to be removed from daily processes completely. It's hard for me, particularly because I love being hands-on, and I think I'm the business's biggest weakness because I want to stick my nose in everything because I love her, but I need to learn to step back and just let the team shine and grow without me because they do a lot of things better than me. So for me, I find it tough, but once you let go, you never want to touch it again.
Same thing with me, really. It's like I kind of go to work and act busy. No, it's really hard just trying not to interfere with them because they probably are so much more productive without us sort of chiming in and giving our ideas, which are probably crazy and won't work. And there's so much, it's so fulfilling to watch them work without us and just see them get shit done without us. And it's like, oh, wow. It's like watching your children learn how to walk, I'm imagining. So it's pretty cool, like, to see that. And eventually, like, we're sort of at a crossroads where, like, we probably could be kind of redundant, but we just love being there as well. So it's hard. Yeah.
Cool. Gentleman with the glasses at the back there.
Yeah, I was wondering, you were all saying how it was hard to find the right people for you. And so I was wondering if you had any more advice about how to find the right people or how to find the right company to work with, because the CV and the job interview is just not enough to get to know each other.
So is that about hiring the right people? Sorry, was it for you or?
For all of you,
For
you
all.
both mentioned that it was important to find the right people, right? So devastating not to.
I've had a few experiences with hiring for skill, and then the culture didn't fit. So for us, like, what we do is when we, interview a new person, we actually get them to stay with us for lunch. We get them to work with us for pretty much the whole day, and we just see how they fit in with other team members, because they're going to spend 5 days a week here. So we actually, rather than what they say to us, which, to be honest, I barely look at resumes now, I'm just more interested in how they are as a person. So we would speak to them for hours, we'll take them out for lunch, we'll get to know sort of their dreams, their goals, what makes them tick. And really it's about if we can provide the right environment for them to let them achieve their dreams, because it's a give and take for us. You know, if we're going to ask for you to help us grow our vision, you need to reciprocate. You know, so at the beginning of the year, or we get all the staff to write down what they want to achieve at the end of the year, and it's also our responsibility to help them, you know, go there as well. So I think when you take care of each other this way, it makes a big difference. And for the ones who aren't really interested in that, very quickly you'll be able to see that, you know, that's not what they want. They just want a 9 to 5. And for us, we're more interested in someone who's willing to build something together with us. So you'll see it very quickly.
So just from our point, very much so, it is about the culture fit. It is about being able to relate to everyone. Believe it or not, there are a couple of tricks that I use that are quite interesting. If I'm hiring someone and I'm expecting them to have eye for detail, I would often open a box and I would throw 15 things in there and I would give them the memory test. If they haven't passed that, no matter how skilled they are, they're not going to get that part of the business right. Then I would walk from where I was at the front of the building right to the end as fast as I could. And if they weren't 2 steps behind me, they don't have the sense of urgency. So there's little tricks that I used all the way through in terms of hiring, and that has to be the right fit, that energy, the ability to be able to get those foundation things right are so important. Like even with my girls now, I teach them all these foundation things because they're things that carry you through life. You know, you can learn your skill, you have to do that at school anyway. You have to be, you know, you have to study, you have to do all of those practice, but do you have to remember someone's name? Do you have to look at them in their eye? Do you have to greet them properly? Do you have to remember who they are? Do you have to walk fast? Do you have to be able to have those skills? So I use a lot of little interesting, that too I've mentioned, but there's quite a few.
Gentleman in the jacket there.
Kim, you weren't sitting here. What's going on?
Kim actually got out of the Q&A session because we didn't have enough mics. So Kim Hyun of We Teach Me, one of our founders. So Kim, you have a question for our...
I do. Everyone talked about moments of failure. And I wanted to really understand what were you thinking when you had that moment where you thought, oh my God, this is one of my biggest failures. How did it feel? And what was your biggest learning from that?
So failure, it's really interesting. When you're thrown against a wall and you can't go anywhere else, it's painful. And I think that pain I carried from when I ran away from home and found myself absolutely alone in Australia. I didn't have any family, I didn't know anyone. I knew one guy that was busy running nightclubs, you know, really had nobody. And I came from a big family, so I was pushed against a wall and I had to find everything in myself to be able to succumb that. So when that feeling of failure happened with the clothing industry, I found myself back against a wall again. And I'm like, okay, now what do I do? How do I do that? And As I mentioned, my husband said, in 3 months you don't turn this around, you are going to sit at home. Well, that scared me. So I think those things really empower you. If there's something that you can draw on in that failure journey and remember how it feels, it helps you analyze moving forward. And for everyone that starts new, you will face that. Make sure you sit back and think about what happened, how it felt, what you would look at, what you would do different. And I put I write these things down and go, okay, here's my checklist. I go back and go, have I done these things again? What would I do in the future? So they're just some things that I do for myself that have helped me over the years. So that's how I think I look at failure. And even now, I could face failure tomorrow, but I'm a lot more aware, and I hope that I've put those processes around, but yeah.
For me, I think one of the biggest learnings that I had was around staff retention. And I think I realised I couldn't convince someone to appreciate their job. And when I hired, I felt very responsible for the staff, every one of them. And if someone wasn't happy, I took it very, very personally. I think I almost cared a little bit too much, and I saw everything as my fault. And maybe that was probably suffocating the staff as well, and also I just took on too much pressure. So I would say, like, when one of the staff left, and I did everything in my ability to make them stay, at a certain point I was just like, they're happier elsewhere, you need to let them go, and you need to learn that it's not personal. I took things very personal in my business. I was very uptight as well. So everything was really personal. If someone didn't like my product, it was my fault. You know, staff left, it was my fault. Like, everything was my fault. We weren't good enough, we weren't big enough, we weren't this, we weren't that. So I think my biggest lesson is actually just taking a step back and treating parts of it like a business, and sort of removing myself from it so that I could learn from it and actually be able to improve upon it, rather than overthinking in my head. And now I'm able to take failure or changes a lot better, definitely a lot better. And I think business is really a mindset game. You know, if you get caught up in it too much, you're going to get blocked. And so this is a skill that I'm learning.
So for me, it's just another day. No, so failure, I think if it's a short failure, I can get over it quite quickly, but if it's something that's like prolonged and quite difficult, then that starts to draw me down and bring me down a bit more. But for me, it's always just about remaining positive, trying to learn from the mistake, which is very, very difficult to do. But for me, it's just about looking forward and just having that belief in yourself and in the universe or God or whatever you call it, and just know that it will be okay. Like, you'll make it. Like, we're not going to die. We're in Australia. We're in this blessed country. Like, whatever happens, I'm still going to live, so it's okay. Yeah. Gratitude. Yeah.
Lady in the yellow jumper.
I have a question about organizational culture or corporate culture. How has your corporate culture been shaped initially? What was the process of formation of the corporate culture in the beginning stage?
In the beginning stages, haphazard. Just follow the leader, it happens. As it went along, it's really listening to your staff, and as Kaz said earlier as well, it's about defining your mission, your vision, the values you stand by, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, and sharing those. It's almost like a rule book, saying that, okay, if a customer calls, do we answer it in 4 hours? What kind of customer? How do we do this? What is our process? What is our system for this? Once that is bedded down, you can actually enjoy yourself with the people, because you've actually outlined all of those things that an organization needs. So creating the right systems and processes, and actually having the go-to questions, which I call, and often I'll say to my staff, what are the go-to questions? And each job might be different, and I'll go, for this one, what do you think the go-to questions are? And we'll formulate them together, and they become that go-to question. So within that, and if you've got boundaries, the culture just happens, and that's really how we shape our organization.
I think from us, our culture stems from Kaz and I, because we are quite bubbly and energetic, and we'll say hi to random strangers and crazy, like, hey, how you going, like that sort of stuff, and that actually translates onto our staff as well. So like for example, the other week our staff were setting up a shop in Maya or somewhere in the city, and they immediately were so friendly and bubbly that the security guards would go out of their way to actually help them do things that they shouldn't be doing, but all that sort of stuff. And that comes from Kaz and I, because I think we breed that culture, and when we breed that, they come into our world and our life, and it slowly trickles on and passes on to them as well. Yeah.
Awesome. I might ask a little question before I put it back out there, but you talk about just starting and that initial phase of getting over that hump of the concept and just getting it out there. Age has obviously been on your sides as well. You all started off quite young. Is there any advice to the audience that you can give about, if people think they're of a certain age, they shouldn't be doing it? It's taken 8 years to build a business, for example, or 10 years. Any advice on just that starting phase and getting it out there?
Me?
Anybody?
Okay. If you believe in what you want to do, no age is the wrong age. Any age is correct. If you are not true to that belief, it will never be correct. And that is an important for me. I've always believed very strongly in what I've wanted to do, and I've set forth to achieve it. And I think that is how I would share with everybody. If you believe that you want to be in business, then be in business. If you think that, oh, I need to learn more, don't fret about analysis by paralysis, do it. And then you'll know whether you need to be in it or not be in it. I think that's what I can share.
I would second everything you said. I think every age is the perfect age. I think having started so young, I think we were 21 or something, there's pros and cons to everything. I was definitely not focused enough. I don't think I had the experience enough, but on the plus side, I was blind and I was ambitious and I was young and I was silly and I was stupid. So pro and con, but if I started 10 years later or now, I'd be so much more focused. I'd be able to use so many more networks. It would probably take me a lot shorter than 8 years, so pros and cons each, there is the perfect times now. I truly, truly believe that.
Awesome. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, gentleman at the back there.
Given you've all managed to circumnavigate the speed humps to success, what's the exit process?
What was the exit process? And if there is an exit plan?
For me, that's actually a bittersweet thing. I would like to get the business so that I can exit, so systemize it so much that I'm not there. But whether or not I'll actually exit, we discuss that frequently because I love it so much there. And it's a lifestyle business for me, so that's a big question mark for me still.
So I've exited quite a few businesses, whether they've been sold or whether they've exited because of just my passion in terms of moving forward. The redundancy in progress is exactly where it is right now for me. Once that role is filled, I'm sure I'll be looking for something else and there'll be something different on the horizon. I will always be doing something because it's just me innately, but I do think that the exit process could be an exit via sale, a merger with another company, an acquisition by some sorts, you, like Kaz said, once you systemize it and you gain that intellectual property and you have left some value in the business, that is probably a good time to be able to see exit.
Awesome. Oh, lady on the right-hand side, and then we'll work back up that way.
Thank you. So how do you think about making the interest to be a business? And for example, I'm very interested in the coffee, but I'm also interested in the making coffee to another people. So some friends or relatives just said to me, maybe you can make the coffee as your business in the future, but I'm not sure whether I can do or just avoid the failure to be successful.
What would you say the question? What would you say the question be?
How do you think about making the interest to be a business?
Turning hobby into a business, yeah.
Okay.
How do you?
Yeah, how do you make that step?
Whether I can do or not.
Yes, you can do it. That's my answer. No, I think failure is inevitable. You're going to fail. Oh, sorry, but everyone will fail. Like, doesn't have to be a big failure, but it could be a little failure. Like, failure is always going to be there. I just think you have to. It's not rigorous thought, but I believe you should try and just do it. Like, purely what we did, you just do it. There's no other way you'll know unless you actually try it. Yeah, I don't know if that was very helpful. But.
So, to share with you, when we're young, we crawl and we want to walk. When we walk, we want to run. When we run, we want to do something else. When you crawl, you have an aspiration. If you want to make coffee, you've got to do it. And you keep doing it until you get really good at it. And then when people like it, then you see how you can expand to it. So you have to believe that you want to progress, you want to take the next step. If you already know that you want to take the next step, so if people are saying to you, make great coffee, believe in it. Make great coffee. The power of manifestation or thinking about what you want to do is so great. The fact that you're asking the question means you want to do it. So I would encourage you to do it.
Yeah.
And back to Kim at the front there.
You shared stories of failure before. Can you share a story of something crazy that's happened on your journey where you just think to yourself, oh my God, I cannot believe this is my life?
Okay. All right, so that would be the success side of things. So I shared the story of having the school uniform business. And for a very long time, this school uniform business, it was a small to medium business. And I've been at the tail of my husband, who's a mergers and acquisition person, saying, buy me a bigger business because I know I can take this to the next level. I've always been looking at it, taking it to the next level. And he's always said, oh, we'll do it. Suddenly a business came up, which he actually was selling to someone else. And through this journey, I said, this is a business for me. You can't be selling this to someone else. And he's gone, well, they will do much better than you will. Well, for me, luckily, that didn't go through. And I went back again, this is a business for me. You have to make it happen for me. So he has pulled off all stops and made a miracle happen and acquired this business, which is 4 times the size of what I have currently. So it is massive. And that's the business I'm sitting on now. So that is crazy to be able to think that you've got a business that has, a small turnover and suddenly now you're in the big league and you're paying payroll tax. That's a problem. You're starting to move in another different league altogether. So yeah, that's been a crazy time for me especially. Yeah.
For me, it was quite recently. Like, I grew up watching Disney cartoons, and I'm a big Disney fan. And I think it was this year that we were just at a trade fair doing our normal event, and then we were actually invited by Disney to actually go collaborate with them. And so I was so incredibly excited, and we prepared all these portfolios and we did all this background research, and I was ready to go in and I was ready to pitch. I was ready to, do my thing. And then when we went there, they were pitching to me. And they're like, do you know Disney? Have you heard of Disney? And I'm like, yeah, I have. Like, it was incredible. And so we were in this boardroom where Disney was pitching to us and, offering us all sorts of things. And I was just like, wow. That was the moment when I was like, this is pretty cool.
That's still meant to be under wraps, by the way, guys. Yep.
It's on YouTube now.
For me, I think the moment was our first major Christmas party. We had really small dinners before that, but this time we had about 40 or 50 staff, and we're like, hey, let's do something really massive. So we hired out a whole arcade bar, and it was really cool and whatnot, but we kind of paused and looked at each other and like, wow, holy shit, like, we're responsible, and we're touching these many people's lives, and we're kind of responsible for their lives. And that was when we kind of realized that, wow, we are making an impact in people's lives, and it was amazing to see that.
Yeah.
Very
very much.
Great question, great answers, guys. Lady in the yellow again, please.
What is the managerial challenges when you are scaling up your businesses, and especially you have gone through across industries and cross industry businesses? And have you found, is there any patterns that the managerial challenges while you're scaling up, and what would be the repetitive patterns you have realized, or there's no patterns? Every time is different.
It is a little bit different, and it's a great question. As you're scaling up, I think you have to realize that, like I said, you're in the business, you want to touch every facet of the business. You get to a point where you get the right people with the right culture. They are going to do things differently. They're not going to do things the way you want them to do it, because that's what fits well with you. They're going to make you uncomfortable. And if you're prepared for that, then you can scale up, because that is a growth and a learning within yourself to go, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to understand what this manager, I'm paying him to do a job, and I'm going to close my eyes and go, yes, I would have done it differently, but you know what? He's going to do it this way. If you create quarterly goals, or you create some kind of barometer for them to work within, and they have to achieve it, you almost have to close your eyes and go, you are going to get there because you are the right person. So yeah, that is my journey from scaling up, and I've had to really swallow my pride, bite my tongue, close my eyes and go, you can do it, and coach them into it and go, you're doing a great job. This is exactly where you need to be. Are you hitting your goal? Are you nearly getting there? And I think that's, you end up sort of doing that more so of actually doing it yourself.
May I add that as long as you have the right metric?
Yes, correct. As long as you've identified that metric with them, because they will also share with you what they can and can't do. And that is very important to listen to, because often what I have faced in the past, where I wouldn't listen to them because I'd be like, my way or the highway, we're doing it this way, no other way but this way. And then you go, okay, it doesn't have to be that way. And you learn across the way. As you make those mistakes, you carry those things with you and go, okay, it can be their way. Let's ask them how they can achieve it, because everybody has a different way. They might go right around the path and get to the same destination, not in the same way you would. So yeah, allowing them.
For us, it's definitely similar, like be goal orientated but not task orientated. And I think at the beginning of your journey, you're a micromanager because you have to cover every asset of the business. We were the maker, the packer, the sender, the seller, you're everything. So you do need to be a micromanager at the start, but it's about transitioning to step out of it. And, it's difficult because it's letting go and trusting other people. But if you can't trust your staff to do the right job, then there's a big question mark already. And very quickly when we scaled up, I'd say that systems got tested. So if we didn't systemize things and we didn't have rules, or we didn't set those out, very quickly you would see things crumble. So you'll know. Yeah.
Guys, we're coming towards the end now, so we'll maybe have two questions. So gentleman at the front, and then gentleman in the red there, and we'll leave it there. But yeah, if you've...
At the start of your business career, did you ever just want to throw your hands up in the air and be like, okay, I just want to work a 9-to-5 job, take the easy way?
I still do. Absolutely. I think the whole way, I think it's very personal building a business, and it does reflect yourself, and it's very difficult. That's why, for me, I'm so lucky that I found something that I'm passionate about, because that sustains me no matter what problem I face. There is this energy inside me that will always be bigger than whatever problem I'm facing. But there are so many times that I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I could earn way more doing a 9-to-5. This is like 24 hours a day. And then there's politics and there's everything else involved, and then some staff complain, and but it's all worth it, because it's so incredibly fulfilling. There is nothing that will give you, you're basically creating your own world and leaving your mark whichever way you want. So that's why it's so important to find something that you believe in.
So I've hardly ever worked for anyone. Every business that I've had, I've created from a very, very young age. I worked in the duty-free stores for about 6 months and at the Kirby marketing for about 6 months. So when times have been tough, I've thought, can I take my skills and take them elsewhere? And I think that I come to the same conclusion and go, I don't think I know how to do that as well as I know how to do this. So if I continue doing what I'm doing, I will get there. And I'm very passionate about succeeding, success, and empowering people.
You don't fancy going full circle back to Club Med?
For a holiday.
I think I'll just quickly add, like, I think doing like a 9 to 5 or something, you won't be able to touch as many lives as you can as an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur, you know, you affect the staff that you have and also your customers. You're creating a better world for them as well. And that just is so amazingly fulfilling. And it took a while for my parents to understand what an entrepreneur was, because probably 5 or 6 years into the business, my mum kept saying, oh, when are you going to get a job? And I'm like, what do you mean? This is my job. So it's pretty cool, yeah.
Thanks for your question.
This one is for Carousel and Will. Running a business while being in a relationship, it's very stressful. Are there any tips you'd like to share with us? And was there any moment you thought maybe hiring another person so he can help you out? I don't know.
All the time. No, I'll let her start.
No, you start. I want to hear what you say.
Well, it's amazing. No, honestly, it's got its ups and downs for sure, but I honestly don't know how people that solo businesses alone, how they actually can do it without a partner. Because we think every day, I'm like, shit, I'll be so lost without her. Like, not in my personal life as well, but business life. It's just crazy the amount of stuff that she'll pick up on, and she'll fix all the mistakes that I make and vice versa. But just having that support there and knowing that you're both facing the same direction, you're both going the same way, is actually, we could probably honestly say if it wasn't for the business, we wouldn't be together anymore. Because we probably just, you know, had different directions, different things that we wanted, but having that business solidified us and made us one unit.
Yeah, I think it was lucky because we get to spend so much time together. We spend so much time in the business. It's difficult to find room for a relationship when you're trying to grow a business. So the fact that we can work on it together and take that stress away from focusing on each other and what we're doing, it actually saved our relationship. In fact, it actually improved it because we were both heading in the same direction. So definitely, I mean, tips is that I learned I cannot change him. No matter how much I try, you know, he's always going to have grammar mistakes. He's always never going to be thorough in his work, and I'm just going to have to check it. So learning that I am powerless, you know, and accepting him for where he is really, really good. And so I will just balance the other areas than trying to change him. I've tried for 16 years and it hasn't worked. So just accept each other and draw on those strengths and be very clear on who takes care of what roles so that we don't overlap, is what I would say.
Excellent. So I think we'll leave it there, but can we have a round of applause for our guest speakers this evening?